Alrighty. We are home. We're gonna sit down. Everyone's asleep. Woohoo! Sit down. We're gonna get into it. Hi, Kelsey. Incompetent Kelsey. Incompetent, I mean incompetent cervix. It happens. It happens. What is an incompetent cervix? It's when your cervix starts to shorten and think that it's going into labor earlier than it should. With my first, I went into labor at 23 weeks, 4 days. I had to have a C-section. I could have done a vaginal, but it was very risky. I wasn't dilated enough because my body was trying to go into labor while simultaneously saying, nah, girl, we're not ready, you know? But no matter, I was a little bit dilated, and Miss Phoebe Lou was breech. So her little feet were dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, like I could feel them kicking on the outside. And the doctors kind of pushed her back a couple of times. So we could try and keep her in for 4 months. We were trying to keep her in. I think showing up at the hospital, and I think maybe 12 hours later, I had a C-section. And Phoebe came out. 1 pound, 9 ounces. 6:20 p.m. Immediately she was intubated and taken to the NICU. And they kind of rolled her by me and my husband so we could give the old howdy doody. But, it was immediate. It was an emergency. She needed to go. So the next morning, rested up, of course, started pumping some milk. Very important, especially if you have a baby in the NICU. You need breast milk. They cannot digest anything else. Formula, not too early. It's too early. They're not developed enough for that. So very important to pump them teats. And so we did. We were making beautiful milk. Why did I go into labor early? Well, later on we found out it's because I was incompetent. At the time, we had no idea. Not a clue. The doctors didn't really have speculations at that time. In fact, the doctors and nurses were very much readily telling my husband and myself that not to worry, not to go there mentally. Be here, be now. Don't worry about why, God, why is this happening? That doesn't matter. That didn't matter anymore. This is hard to record, recounting this experience. Anyway, yes. So, 23 weeks, 4 days, 1 pound, 9 ounces. Phoebe Lou Stevens was brought into this world. Immediately intubated, immediately incubated. She was wrapped in plastic to keep her skin moist. She had IVs out of her arms, her legs, and her forehead. She was wearing this tiny post-it sized diaper. Like somebody made a diaper that small for this exact moment. All of the equipment in NICU. The same equipment you would use for adults, but just tiny. I saw my daughter the next day in a box. with all that stuff on her. I didn't know what to say to her. All I could say, actually, I just started singing "Girl, Put Your Records On." That's what I did. Girl, put your records on. Because I didn't know what else to say. I was in shock. The miracle of life that's supposed to grow inside your belly has now been placed into a clear plastic box. We were not allowed to touch her. It was unwise. She had already come into this world with trauma. We didn't want to add any more. I didn't get to hold her for a month. And then so I got to hold her after a month. It's called kangaroo care. When you're in the NICU with babies that small, it's very important. It's very important to do that. They need that. They know your voice. They know your smell. They know you. You're their mother. So whether or not they came into this world the way you intended it's neither here nor there. Yeah. It was just very important to be there every day. I'm not sure how to get this story out. I'm fumbling. 4.5 months, I watched my child grow. There were tons of setbacks. Tons. Obviously, her lungs were not developed, so she was on a respirator, specifically an oscillator, which helps puff your lungs up, because when you're that early, they're like paper mache, they're stuck. You know, she didn't even start breathing inside of me yet. So we had a machine breathe for her. Since, she had to eat. She's no longer attached to me anymore. The importance of breast milk. So she was on what's called a continuous feed of an NG tube or mouth tube. Either way, just a tube going directly into her tummy, and a slow, continuous feed of nice, beautiful breast milk. That golden miracle of milk. Helps. Now, there's so much to say, actually. Jesus, I didn't really plan this video well. Just a box. Baby in a box. What's in the box? It's my baby. It's my baby. That's my baby. Everything worked perfectly that day. As perfectly as a situation like that could. All the doctors in the right places. My husband and I, Greg and I, making the correct decisions. We had a choice. They did ask, would you like to do a compassionate care release, or would you like to send her to the NICU? We decided that this girl was coming, and she was coming with with a passion to be here, and so we wanted to give her a chance. We live in this modern era of medicine and miracles, so let's take a chance. So we took a chance, and we we gambled right. We gambled right. Because she's here. She's 3, beautiful, thriving. You wouldn't even be able to tell that she was a NICU baby. You wouldn't be able to tell. Not unless you were maybe a PT or OT, and you can maybe see just a little bit of tone in her left side, the way she runs and walks, but not as extreme as what you would see with somebody who had cerebral palsy, which was definitely a high consideration for her. Anyone born that early, most likely going to have some delays. Learning delays, speech delays, eating delays, walking delay, all the things. We did 2 years of occupational therapy, physical therapy, and about maybe 6 to 8 months of speech. Had to teach her how to eat. You know, you don't really think of things like that. A baby grows inside of you, and they kind of get all these primal abilities naturally. They just kind of develop, the organs develop, they breathe, their heart beats, their brain starts to develop, they start to suck on their thumbs, which helps organize the tongue. She had a disorganized tongue, that's a thing. So we had to teach her how to use a tongue, how to suck. We used a special passy, bottles. I never got to breastfeed. In fact, I lost my breast milk about 2 months into that NICU experience. More on that probably in another video. That's a whole nother. That was a sad day. Anyway. Incompetent cervix. That's what happened. Baby dropped. Put pressure on the cervix started to funnel, and her little feet dipped down, poked the placenta, and a little hole happened. So my water didn't really break, it just was leaking. However, that is technically a break. That is the beginning of labor. And so I had to sit in the hospital kind of upside down, head down, using gravity to help keep her in. But like I said, about 12 hours later, she was out. She was out. And the NICU journey began. Long, long journey that I would never change. I would do it again. But yeah. Hard. Fucking hard. Why are you getting pregnant again? It seems so difficult. Because kids is so fun. It's so fun. It's also so chaotic. My house is a disaster. It's an absolute shit show. Children, wow. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I want more. I would have more if I could. A third one is pushing it. I've already had 2 C-sections. So, and it's possible, 3, 4, 5 C-sections. But because I had my first C-section at 23 weeks, my womb wasn't all that big, very small. It had not expanded to its full pregnancy size. So the second pregnancy was really pushing my womb as far as it could go. Longer videos are harder to do than shorter videos. Yeah. Life's a hoot.